Welcome to Perusing's Appraisers on Purpose podcast. Our podcast showcases inspiring appraisers and professionals from the industry who are leaders in their field. How did they get to where they are? What have they learned along the way? What can we learn from them? Your host is real estate investor, entrepreneur, and appraiser, Michael Hobbs.
Welcome to another informative, engaging, and educational episode of Perusing's Appraisers on Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Michael Hobbs, and once again, always honored and humbled at our distinguished guests. Excited to have Robert Oglesby with us. Robert, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's an honor, Michael. Great to see you in person, and I guess we're in person, right? Even though we're digitally away.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Almost truly IRL in real life. This is as close as it gets without hopping on a plane, flying halfway across the country.
Love it. Honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, man. Hey, friends, do what only you can do, and that is smash that like button. About 62 to 63% of you routinely enjoy the content, but haven't actually generously shared. So when you do that, that helps extend the algorithm so that they can have a bigger impact and more people like you can come across great content like this. So thanks for doing that. But I know we got to jump right into it because everybody wants to know, Robert, were you born this way or how'd you get into the appraisal and valuation profession?
The most famous question you asked, Michael.
That's the memorable one.
Definitely was not born into this arena and just fell into it. Let's put it that way.
Holy cow. Holy cow. We're thinking like childhood tales here, fairy tale kind of stuff. You just fell into the daisy patch.
Yeah. I wish I started a lot younger. I wish I had family that was strong in the valuation space back in time, because I'm sure there would be a lot more fruits from that.
Well, that's true.
Family had that knowledge. But no, ironically, which is obviously pretty common, I'm sure you hear, my wife's family in Michigan were appraisers, and that's where I learned about the industry and started getting into it at a younger age, if you will, once I was out of the military. Yeah, they were strapping houses. I'm going to guess back in the late 90s, somewhere in that time frame, and peeked into it and thought it was interesting to see that somebody was making a living doing that. And obviously, like a lot of people, I thought, they would just see this house and magically get a check. And that's all it took. I'm like,
well, isn't that the perspective, man? That's the best.
Yeah, I'm like, man, let's make things easy. We always look for that easy route, don't we?
Oh, man, there's some truth to that one. That's just how you saw the people just stroking those big checks.
Absolutely.
Thanking somebody for walking through their property.
Yes. Now we'll probably have drones going through the property, and we'll see if we'll still get those checks, right? Where's it going?
Is it going to be drones, or is it going to be that robotic house pet?
Yeah.
That Musk has talked about. Or maybe it's not a house pet per se, but
family
extension.
Hey, when I was visiting with some realtors, I'm like, who's going to start building the first homes with a robot closet? Who's got that genius idea? You got to be able to lock these robots up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Got to get ready for it, Michael.
Robot closet. That's, wow. Steel cage inside the home kind of thing.
That might be the better idea. That might be the route to go.
Oh my gosh.
Robot closets. Got
it. So I heard you say that you had the opportunity to serve the country. We appreciate that. Thanks for your service. What division of the armed forces were you in?
I did the delayed entry program when I was 17. Grew up in a pretty rural town in Virginia. Kind of bounced around a lot with my dad. I lived with him, and he job hopped a lot. And I decided at 17, if I wanted to survive in the world, I better go join the military. And so I signed up then and went into the Navy at that point. And a month after graduating high school, was off to boot camp in the greater area that you know a lot about, Great Lakes.
Oh man, there's a little bit going on there.
Yeah, that helped me decide that I would never live in Chicago, Michael, just so you know. I did learn at a very young age. I learned at a very young age that I am not going to live in Chicago. It's not going to happen.
Sounds familiar. Sounds
Yeah.
familiar. If it wasn't for that
Where are
little
you?
metal on my finger, I'm not sure it'd be keeping me here.
Hey, I like the food there. I like to visit. I visited there several times for institute stuff back in the day or whatnot, but
Yeah.
great to visit. But when I come around the building and I get blown away and I'm 200 pounds, I'm like, it's not meant for me to be here.
Oh, speak the truth and shame the devil on that one. Goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
How long did you stay in the Great Lakes region before you shipped out?
Right when I got done with boot camp, ironically, my job type that I had signed up for. So most time when you go into the military, you generally you sign up, you're going to go to boot camp, and you have in the Navy they call them a rating. I don't know if they still call them that, but they might.
Yeah.
And in other branches they call them an MOS. So that's your job. You sign up for a program. So generally you go from boot camp and then you go to a tech school. And at the tech school, obviously you're learning how to serve in the military from whatever job you're going to do. And obviously that's what they're paying you to do, right? Well,
Yes.
I didn't know this. I signed up for a job, and which I'm very thankful to today that I did not have to do in the Navy.
Okay.
It was called signalman. This is again when you make big decisions at 17 with no great guidance. You sometimes make decisions that probably are not going to bring you a lot of fruit. Maybe you just learn a lot. But anyway, this signalman job, I think it does a bunch of stuff with ships and you use flags and stuff like that, which I'm sure are probably irrelevant in today's world. But
Wow.
that was going to be where I was going. But I got selected out of boot camp to go into the ceremonial guard.
Oh, really?
Which ended up being, and just got very lucky. They somehow go through all the recruits that are in basic training and interview you. And I'm sure they look at you from a profile standpoint, who you are, how tall you are, things like that, and want you to look all pretty in uniform. And
Wow.
yes, I got selected to go do that. So I was there. I went to Washington, D.C. from boot camp for 4 years. So roughly 4 years. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great time.
I was just thinking that if you were a signalman, that means you could have been in either of the Top Gun movies.
Oh, 100%. That's where I was destined, Michael.
I'm just looking at you. You look like that type of talented, screen enriched character that would just draw in the ticket buyers.
Yes, that's where I was destined. The Navy put a lot of foundation in me. The Navy saved my life. So it's just an honor to serve back then and just be a great citizen. It really taught me to be a man. So it's still a lot of learning left to do, even at the age we're at now, but I'm very thankful that opportunity existed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
When you completed your service, did you have any idea, or were you once again still kind of like that 17-year-old, kind of like, okay, I don't know what I don't know?
I do know. So a couple of great things besides going to the ceremonial guard. I met my wife there. So in the Navy. So we've been married 29 years and we met
wow,
in
congratulations.
DC. Yeah. So she had the same opportunity. I think she was signed up to do some kind of administrative job in the Navy. Got selected to go to the ceremonial guard. She was in a class after me. Met her and we got married pretty quickly. I think a year after meeting the military, but long story short, we decided that we were going to get out and she got out right before I did, both serving our initial term of 4 years, and decided she had brought me to her hometown in Michigan. I knew that I did not want to go back to Virginia where I grew up because I just wanted something new. And then she took me out to Arizona. And this is what made my decision and allowed us to move to Arizona. I did not like the roads in Michigan. Okay. I did not like the potholes.
Yeah.
Did not like the potholes. Every time I'm driving around a corner, you feel like you're going to lose a wheel or something like that. And she took me to Arizona and everything's kind of new in a way. Obviously, is brown. There's not really a lot of greenery, but I grew up with that, right? It wasn't a big deal to me to not have all the seasons, if you will, in Phoenix. So yeah, that's how I landed in Arizona. Nothing, no crazy stat study like a good appraiser would do. Let's really look at the forecast, and in 25 years, we're going to have all these data centers in Arizona. No, it was potholes. Potholes got me to Arizona. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. That is such a great thing. And yes, I've had that experience visiting a couple of the major cities there in Arizona, of that newness to it. And you just don't have potholes.
Yeah. The beautiful thing about Arizona, you know what you get every day. You know that if you need to go do something, you're going to have the ability to do it, because the weather is generally not plaguing you. It might be hot, but you can still generally get out and do what you need to do.
That makes a world of difference. Goodness. You decided that you didn't want to get into road building when you got out there? Resume your signalman opportunity?
No, I actually started to try out for law enforcement. So I always had a law enforcement bug.
Yeah.
But I ended up going into the restaurant business briefly and having some success. Yeah. Complete. Just my wife was working at a golf resort, and I started to do the normal thing of all the side hustle jobs that you can do as a youngster, and just trying to figure out where you're going to go in life. And started waiting tables and things like that, and got promoted up, and thought I got selected to go be part of a county sheriff thing, and wife didn't really want me to do it. And long story short, just hosted it in the restaurant business a little bit. And then we flew back to Michigan a couple times and met with the family that were doing appraisals. And ironically, I went about a period in the restaurant business of not seeing my wife. And at this point, we'd been in it a little while, and she was a district manager for Gap. I was working for Cheesecake Factory as a manager and training. And we went about 3 weeks without seeing each other. And I just told her, hey, you know what? I'm done, and I quit. And I said, we're going to do this appraisal thing. And that's exactly how it happened. And went out and searched for a mentor here in Arizona, which was not easy. And took some time and got that going. And voila, I was in the appraisal world.
Holy smokes. That's amazing. But what I'm hearing you say, unlike others, your situation in some ways is so similar to mine, and that is, I didn't even know the industry existed.
No. I had no clue. And I think that goes back to, people talk about coaching and stuff. Not that you can coach everything, but I think having good mentors and people around you to open your mind to understand what the world offers, we really need a lot of that. And of course, the information's obviously flowing a lot more than back then, back when you and I were getting in, but I had no clue. There's so many industries that still blow me away that I find out that people are making a living or have a business on. I'm like, you do what? And you still get that as an appraiser today. You make a living doing this? I'm like, yes, believe it or not. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it is so true. I assume, just because of some of our other conversations, that the individual that took you on was a residential appraiser.
Yes. Yeah. He's well experienced. I think he actually I think he was a broker too, real estate broker. And I don't think he was doing much broker activity at that point, but good guy. Just honored that he took me in, and I worked for him for, I think, 2 years or so, 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
What was it like having seen the version of appraisal because of the wife's family versus actually doing it with a supervisor or mentor?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would periodically go back there. That portion of my wife's family, it's weird what they were doing, because they worked for a residential appraiser, had been established for a long time.
Oh, okay.
Older than you and I. But but my family never got licensed. Okay. And still today, they still do appraisals and they never got licensed. I never understood that.
Wow.
But he works for him as quote unquote a trainee, if you will, and is still actively, I think, involved. And I don't know what his pay split is, but he never went the actual certified or licensed route.
Like never took any classes, or
No.
just only
no,
got
he
to the
took classes.
trainee level and stayed there?
He's more comfortable just getting jobs, doing it and assisting the appraiser than he and she is of going to get their license. I asked it about it a couple times because what if that person passed away, if you will, or just decided to hang up their hat and say, I'm done. And what are you going to do? Now you got to go scramble to work. But it is what it is. They've been doing it forever. They're still doing it. And obviously doing okay. And that's just how they've structured themselves. So going from that to a mentor that was more structured in his processes and his knowledge and his other side of his real estate system, if you will, completely different. That's just really the best I could tell you.
That's wild. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then how was the training and onboarding process, given that you had the opportunity, the privilege, if you will, as well, to go to a very established and specific training, called getting shipped off to the Great Lakes Naval Base, to get to go work for an individual, also, again, stepping in as a new person? I'm guessing it might have been a little different.
Yeah. I'd like to tell you everything was peachy, but it wasn't. I think that anybody that gets on here and just tells you that the training, the guy or lady was just phenomenal and they taught me everything. I think you get what you get from the trainer, and your hopes are that you have to own your training. I even look back and think I could have done a lot more for that person and for myself to be more involved and educated, just because of the information that we now have available, and we learn as we get older, obviously. But he did a good job. Look, he got me to a level I had to do 90% of the work to do that, and that's fine. Brought in a lot of business, had to really help that business grow and pay for the training, if you will, and to be able to survive that year or so without making any income. And then it might even been a little bit longer than that, and finally started getting some compensation. You know the drill.
That's hard.
But back then, I would tell you it wasn't structured very well, but it was probably better than some that I've heard. I would put it at
some horror stories.
Yeah. I'm thankful that I ran into other appraisers at conferences. I'm thankful that I joined, and not to toot anything here, the Institute back at that time, because once I started taking courses that were top higher level appraisers to me, like people with your designations, then I really learned the industry. I did not learn the industry until I really started applying the right education. So the training was just an entry level, and it did allow me to get in there.
Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing. You mentioned, which is not something I routinely hear many people speak to, which is while you were taking on the responsibility of learning, you also were taking on initiative to bring some business in.
Yeah. I don't think I would have made it through training without bringing my business in. So it wouldn't have happened. And of course, it was an easier time to bring on business because we could actually walk in the door of a lender and market, right? So just to make that clear, and somebody's listening, I get it's way more difficult to go out and obtain business, especially as a trainee in today's environment, than it was 20 plus years ago. But yeah, I had no problem doing that. I had no problem taping business cards to boxes of donuts and begging for appraisal orders, if you will. And that worked. So yeah.
Sounds familiar. Were there any particular donuts you found were more effective than others?
Krispy Kreme was hanging around that. So they were going through their little wave of growth before they crashed and burned a little bit and had their roller coaster ride. But I drive through that drive-through or wherever, walk in. I can't even remember what I did, and go in and just grab a box of hot and ready, throw the business cards on there. I think I'd have probably 5 to 10 boxes in the back seat of the car, and I'd just go around. And that's how I would get my hand in the door. I don't know if they ate the donuts or not, but it surely got me in, at least got me a handshake and a meeting. How about that?
Hey man, more power to you. That's great to hear. It's good to know that you helped Krispy Kreme survive their difficult financial periods.
Yeah, and I don't know. Were we supposed to disclose that? Am I supposed to disclose that now that I know what I know? But back then I didn't know. Okay.
You know
So,
what? I think it's fantastic. I remember this was back before the pandemic, and one person that was involved in the company, can't remember. He's either coming on the podcast or he's been on it. I kind of lose track after 13 seasons, but I very much can picture him. But there was a business that they acquired along the way, and his
yeah,
secret, he'll share it. I should get him on the podcast. This particular gentleman, Jerry would say, he's like, "Hey man, I got this little local bakery, and they make the best chocolate chip cookies." He goes, and I became one of their biggest customers because he's like, all I basically did was drive around and just like you said there, Robert, I dropped off chocolate chip cookies, sometimes with walnuts, with my business card. And he
nice.
focused on his whole business grew through the mortgage lending side of things and
Yeah,
brokers as opposed to the AMC world. And so
yeah.
he grew quite a successful business in the
Awesome.
Chicago suburban area.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's amazing how some of the simple things, I still think a lot of those simple things work today. I think that we are stuck with all this technology that wants to simplify our life and automate our life. That some of those simple marketing things do still work, just not as easy to do as it used to be. But believe it or not, people will still give you a meeting. There
Yep.
might be a lot of compliance by it. There might be some more disclosure that you need to do if you do land an account. Okay, I get that. And you start signing appraisal reports and you have a certification in there that you need to make sure is accurate. But those old techniques aren't gone. They certainly aren't.
Yeah. That's encouraging to hear. So what was the impetus for you to step away from the supervisor that you first
Yeah.
secured when you got to Arizona?
That actually wasn't my plan. We actually had a business disagreement.
Oh,
And because I knew that he had a deep resume and that could go hand, but my goal was I never came into this business to be an individual appraiser. I saw the opportunity very quickly that you could grow something and still be involved and create value. And there was a market share for good quality people to be in the space and representing of if a lender hired you or a realtor hired you, they wanted quality people that really could communicate to be a vendor, if you will, whatever you want to
yes.
call it. There was still this huge market for that. And it was untapped, meaning like you could really, if you put all the systems in place in the right way, you fundamentally could grow an appraisal business if you had the knowledge very quickly. And I saw that very early on with my wife's family, and I saw it obviously early on training with this mentor. So we had a business disagreement, and I told him that I wanted to go on my own and would love to partner with him and give him a piece of the business, provided that he was going to be there to mentor and be a face, if you will, and use his resume as a way to get the business out there. So we didn't see eye to eye on that and went our separate ways. And there I was, being a little entrepreneur and a new appraiser, and my confidence was just hunger at that point. So let's put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's always amazing what a little bit of motivation will do in terms of producing results.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And at that point, because you unexpectedly had this disagreement, what was your initial outlook for whether that was middle of the year, early in the year, like, hey, for this year, here's what I want to go do. What was that early outlook?
The early outlook is was really to have a business with my wife that we weren't strapped down and held to a schedule by being an employee, if you will. I was doing all the field work at that point. I didn't have a trainee at that point, but I also started to recruit another staff appraiser at that point because we had some excess business. Business was not an issue at the time I was coming in for training. You could get business very quickly. You just had to be able to handle it and be able to service it, obviously. And
I see.
And you had to be able to handle accounting because back then the lenders were very, I don't know what it is. I don't know how the system allowed this to happen, but man, you had to stay on your billing. They did not want to pay you sometimes. It's so funny to me. I look back at those times.
It was frustrating and annoying.
Yeah.
And they had, depending on who you're working with, a lot of people. And I think it wasn't just, we'll call it them. It's a lot of businesses of that size. Until you grow they get to a bigger size, accounting and financial systems, just one of the last investments that typically get made.
80% of all businesses fail within 5 years, according to the US Census Bureau. With so many roles and responsibilities that must be managed and have nothing to do with appraisal reports, is it any surprise that it's hard to keep up? Much less having a sense of peace, stability, and profitability that comes from growing your business? Given all of this, you might already be thinking about exiting your business one day. Don't miss the limited opportunity to work with Michael, a real estate expert and professional coach. He has worked with more than 300 owners and entrepreneurs to find their highest and best use by solving problems that reach their most important goals. Compress decades of learning into days by working with Michael. Michael is famous in real estate and business coaching. With his help, you can accelerate your growth, increase your quality of life, and earn more money, all while ultimately doing less. Michael helps you not just grow your business, but also find new purpose in it and in your life. If you're ready to take control instead of being controlled, contact him on LinkedIn or email him at michaelh@paru.com.
No, and it was the Wild West back then too. Let's be real. I mean, you don't know the quality of the lender that you're really working for. Me being new, I'm sure there were veteran appraisers at that time that already had some of those experiences and would have handled certain situations better or had a different process. But I was new and just was focused on the main goal was to be an entrepreneur, if you will, and be a good appraiser. So that really started to happen. And we added on some people. We added on my first admin, my wife. We're getting ready to have our first dude, our firstborn at that point, and decided that, hey, let's have you go raise our son. And that ended up being a blessing and a good decision. And we hired somebody to run the office, and it just snowballed into this growth. We were really a staff firm for, I don't know, the first decade, somewhere in there, Michael.
Man, that's amazing, Robert.
Nothing special, but just we had a sense of values that we wanted to commit to and offer a higher level service. And everything we did, we tried to put that on the table before we changed the process or made another layer of the company.
I appreciate you sharing that. What I have gained a great understanding of and appreciation for is everybody has different natural abilities and talents and motivations. And clearly you are an individual in some way or another, either were born with it or developed that sense of both outlook as well as understanding for how things should go. A lot of people, it's myself sometimes included, it was more like pinball. Bing, bing. And did you intend to go there? No, something happened and I went that way, and then something else happened and I went this way. Versus at least the way I hear your reflection on it, sound like there's a little more understanding and sense of how it could go.
Yeah, I think that the best way I can explain it to you is if you grew up with nothing, and whether you grew up with something or had a nice middle class life or a great life, maybe your family was wealthy, nothing wrong with any of that. I didn't have any of that. And I think there's a little tingling in the back of the mind and never want it to be like that again. So, and so some of that ended up being good and bad. So some of my business practices and how I dealt with certain people were probably poor, that I would go back and change and be a better human at that point. And some of the ways I handle things were great, because that's the entrepreneur business is fast paced and you've got to make decisions fast sometimes, and good or bad, learn from failures and keep striving to grow in a healthy way. And I learned early on, and I still will go back and change some ways, is just having great people around you is the number one thing. There's no other playbook. You can go and to me and go get your MBA from somewhere, but at the end of the day, if you can't keep great people and you can't hire the right people, you're not going to grow. And I was able to do that. But that was the one skill that I did have. And I look back, and that's a real gift, Michael. You know that from being an entrepreneur, that we take for granted people that we bring in as a team member. I would tell you that out of my whole life's career, that's the greatest gift, besides my family and being able to support them. That's the greatest gift that this world's brought to me, is be able to bring people into a company. It's just, it's so lucky to be able to go hire somebody. I think we overlook that a lot. It really is.
I completely agree with you. There are many people, even yourself and myself included, who can go do work.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. And that's valued. There's other people that can go do work and share some of what they know. And that's
100%.
a smaller set of people. There's a much smaller set of people who can not only do work and then share the work they know, but also identify other people who are talented and capable, and in many cases better, and then get out of the way and let those people go do what they're good at. And therefore build a strong team that can grow.
Yeah. I think if I had to do it again, Michael, that the biggest purpose of the company would be that, even if visually our market share or clientele that we're trying to market to, that they don't see that, they just know it's there. That is, it's all about development of your people. It's all about, when people come into a company, it's about them, period. It's about your team. And that's how I would operate 100% if I was to relive that story, because I know what it did for me. And, and I just remember the times that the days that you have bad things happen, how do you handle it? It's the people around you that are going to get you through it. When the bank account's a little less, or you lose that big client and you're forecasting and you're like, shit, how are we going to make payroll? Or how are we going to make next month's payroll? It's the people around you that allow you to get through that. It really is.
What a world of difference that is. Where do you attribute your skill or ability to hire and or attract those kind of people?
At the younger age, I really didn't have super skills. The restaurant business, the one thing that is really good about the restaurant business is it's a very complex business. We go out and enjoy a dinner, all the stuff that goes behind that, for running a proper budget, food costs, labor costs, all those things, keeping team members engaged at all levels is extremely difficult. If you go to the restaurant, your next restaurant visit, Michael, and you use a few extra napkins, do we as the restaurant business owner forecast how many napkins that Michael and every other customer was going to use that day, right? It's all these little costs. I think the restaurant business, the military background, really helped keeping me surrounded and knowing that I need good team people in order to have, if you want to call it success, or just have any chance of having a good business.
Yep.
It was really about having great people.
It's an art to both know that exists and then be able to attract them and to hire them. Each step is unique in and of itself.
It is. Yeah. And I tell you what I know now and what I'd go back and do differently. And fundamentally to me, if you have a business idea and there's a market for that business and you follow the steps, if you can master the engagement of people, emotional intelligence, you're going to have a greater chance of success. I know statistically, I don't know, you probably know this better than me, was statistically 50% plus of all businesses fail, right? If not within 5 years. It might even be higher than that, right? Yeah, way higher than that.
Based on the Census Bureau statistics, 80% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. And if you make it 5 years, 80% of those that made it, they die too.
And I wonder, you probably have dived into these. If you can beat those statistics, I really truly believe you can if you're putting the right people in the right seats, but also you're building that culture around them that you want them to grow. That obviously the business needs to be successful, it needs to be profitable in order to invest into that. But I believe from what I went through, which isn't anything, lots of successful business stories out there. But if I look back, I think I could have 10x that had I been more developed with that earlier on, or put a person next to me that was extremely developed in that. And I didn't do that till later, which ended up being good, but probably got to that a little late. I think you could beat those statistics. I think you can. I think you can do it, provided you are not just going in and trying to sell open face sandwiches in a market that doesn't like open face sandwiches, if you will.
Change is hard, Robert. Change is hard.
Yeah. Hey, sorry, my screen decided it was going to cut off, but we're good.
Oh, that's all right. We're still good. Given that experience that you recognized that it was hard to juggle so many responsibilities, so you brought somebody in, you got the opportunity to create a family environment for raising your first son. How did that continue to contribute to what came next for you?
Our pattern of growth from there was we stayed as a staff firm for a long time. And then when HECC kicked in, there was the common question that many of your guests have had that have been in these shoes is, what's the next leg here? What does the market really want? And unfortunately, the market wanted AMCs. That's just what it is. We had no control over that. We can complain about it. You can complain about it today, but as long as that market demand is still there for that service, good or bad, that's what it wanted. It wanted some kind of layer to be there. So the writing was on the wall. We could either try to fight through this staff firm thing, or we become an appraisal management company, and that's what we did. So we became an appraisal management company. I had a fairly decent client that started off their HVCC world of being on a platform. They had no service to that platform, and they wanted service. And so they brought me in and gave us a shot. And that really, I regularly text that person today, probably once a quarter or so. It's a very successful business guy, to tell him thank you for giving me that opportunity.
No, that's amazing.
He really allowed, they really allowed Appraisal Tech to exist, if you will.
And how did you, was it 1 or 2 dozen Krispy Kreme donuts that got your foot in the door?
That's a good question. You might have to cut this out. No, I'm just kidding. I think that the good business people out there as a client recognize, what does a lender want? If you're marketing to lenders and you're mainly doing in that space, a lender, the one piece we all know is that they're not, I'm getting a ton of freaking background noise, Mike. Michael, I'm sorry. I don't know if it's me or you, but like,
I think I'm not hearing a thing. So I'm going to say so far, so good.
Make sure I don't have a fan on. I don't have a fan on. Okay. That's better now. This gentleman in particular, he saw an opportunity to grow a mortgage banking business right out of the fallout with high-end producers. And so he surrounded himself with great people. And his main thing to me is, I just don't want to lose people over poor appraisal practice, period. There was no other thing. I didn't need to wine and dine him. I didn't need to come in and host pizza parties. Sure, we did some of that as a courtesy because it's just what the right spirit of business does. But like a lot of lenders, the reason the appraisal process is so important, they don't want to lose a realtor relationship. They don't want to lose a loan officer to poor quality appraisals. And it's not even low value. It's, can you have a meaningful conversation to explain why this appraisal that may have came in below contract price, the opinion of market values below contract prices, makes sense, that it's a quality report. And we were able to do that. We really focused on that. And we certainly weren't perfect at everything we did, but we certainly tried to employ that process of selfless care to our clients, that we wanted them to believe in the process, believe in appraisers, and believe that there was a good way of doing this appraisal management practice. And so everything we did as a company was about that, period. Obviously, as the industry grew, the AMC scrutiny came into light. We obviously had to follow that carefully and employ different things to make sure we were compliant. And again, that's where it was. And that's how we built our entire operation.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. And then did that change the effort that you put into growing the business, or did it
No.
change perspective of who you were reaching out to, or no change at all?
No, it didn't change. I think that as we went through that short period after HVC and the industry started to go through another real estate cycle where it was a boom, I think we ran into some low interest rates and the cycle started to come back again and we were all busy, if you will. I think we ran that course and our mindset was to grow outside Arizona, hunker down more quality clients in Arizona. We really focused in on credit unions and being a partner to them and their members. That actually worked out really well. I would encourage that relationship. If you ever have an opportunity to do business with a credit union, I highly encourage it. They are, to me, some of the best organizations out there because they really, truly believe in their member. That's their whole premise. And when they say it, generally they're backing it up. And our philosophy was to mirror that and do a lot of hard work and pain to get these clients because you just don't walk into a credit union store and get their business tomorrow. It takes some time. I think it was years. I think we had the largest credit union in Arizona as a captive client, maybe 5 years to get that account.
Oh, really?
Somewhere in there. Yeah. And again, it wasn't about whining, dining. It was about trust. It was about, okay, are our members going to trust this process? Are you delivering a quality product? And if there is a product issue, what are you going to do about it? What is your process to handle? How can our commission loan officers or even staff loan officers or staff team members trust that you're going to assist when there's a question around something with the appraisal process, whether it be the results of the report, information in the report, whatever it may be. And we just put people in the right seats to do that. And I felt like we did a great job. We obviously could have done a lot more, but we had a lot of success with that.
Wow, that's fantastic. Congratulations on that. And where do you attribute your process orientation to? Because a number of people that demonstrate more entrepreneurial tendencies don't always have that additional skill set.
I don't. I'll be the first to tell you, if you wanted to hire me as your COO tomorrow, could I get these things done? Yes, but I'm not going to personally do them. That's not going to be the thing. At some point in this endeavor, policies, procedures, processes, practicing them within, we obviously had to employ because we were starting to get clients that were more than mortgage bankers. And not that the mortgage bankers weren't important or obviously had a lot of compliance behind them. So I hired a couple key people. Some of these people I met on the street. One person I met that this person, my first hire, who ended up being one of my most valuable people, she replaced my wife at the beginning. And she was with me, I
That's
think,
an important,
17 or 18 years.
transition, an important
Yeah.
transition right there.
Yeah. And she is still gangbusters at the company acquired us. She's still thriving there and doing really well, and not surprising me at all. I would be surprised if she's not the CEO one day. Another person was with me for 12 to 13 years, and she ended up becoming our compliance person, HR person. And I met her at a Little League football game. And
I'll tell you, tell me Krispy Kreme.
yeah, no, I've watched how she ran the league. So my son was in actually, let me correct. It wasn't Little League. It was more of a Pop Warner type thing where he had those leagues now. We don't have enough little leagues anymore. Now it's like you got to pay to play, if you will.
No,
But anyway, so my son was in his football team, and I just watched how she organized everything. And you could guess as well as I can, to manage parents and kids in these types of environments. Everybody wants their kid to play. Everybody wants their kid to be a football star. How she handled those processes, I'm like, that's what we need. That's the person. And I hired her off the street like that. And she stayed with me. And she's actually still at the company too that acquired us. And like she just got promoted to VP of something. So anyway, that's the moral of the story. Like there is no, the story that you should always hire people that are better than you. Let me rephrase this. I didn't do the best job with that at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I started to catch on later. Okay, if this is really going to turn into something that's super meaningful, I need to let people do their jobs, and I need to hire people that are better than me, which doesn't take much. Okay, it doesn't take much.
Low. You're saying it's a low barrier, low threshold.
So anyway,
Oh my gosh, that is funny stuff.
Yeah.
And it's such an important point that we have not always heard as much from in our conversations with peers, that
really,
your ability, your willingness for your awareness first, willingness second, and third, ability puts you in a position that the vast majority of people never get to.
yeah, I would tell you that. I would love to tell you that there's a magic formula. Obviously, hard work. You hear that on every podcast. You got to work hard. That's a forgiving. You're going to sacrifice. I'm lucky to still be married. My wife calls it the yin and yang. She likes me way better now being out of that business world than she did when I was in the business world. And I wasn't the best family/business person. Be straight with you. I would be at the office late. I would miss phone calls. Phone calls from business people would be a priority. Dinner parties with business people would be a priority. Do I think that you have to do that to be successful? Absolutely not. But you have to be a wizard at managing your time appropriately.
Yeah,
you do. And so my success was created out of a lot of hard work and the learning of failure. Things that we would fail at because maybe I tried something without having the best mindset behind it. I would learn, and luckily the market forgave me. So, yeah, I mean, I would just continue to tell you that if you want to drive a brand, you've got to really look at the fundamentals of driving a brand, right? What are you? Are you a valuation company? Are you an AMC that is there just to be a layer for the lender? What are you? And we, at our height, were able to push that brand that we were about service, period. We were a valuation company about service. With a lot of mistakes in the background that taught me a lot. Let's put it that way.
yeah. So
Yeah.
and that's a great point that you touch on. Again, something we don't always get to hear as much from peers about. What was it, either intrinsically, extrinsically, or environmentally, or societally, that helped you know that things aren't as good as they could be, and then go and learn or go seek out people that could fill in gaps?
I think the best thing I could tell you is that I've never been a creator, but I've been a good steward of seeing what people do right. My wife would always tell me that, hey, so I'm going to dinner. I'm not really at dinner. I'm there, but I'm thinking about how well this place is doing. Look what they do for their customer. How can we implement that into our company? How can we do some of the things that they're doing well here and make it valuation oriented, even though it's not food-based oriented? So that's where I would tell you my mindset was to, I don't want to say copy what other people are doing. Maybe I did, but also put my twist to it. That's where, and then I would bring that idea to the team just to see if it had legs. And then sometimes we would test it, whether it be a new way to communicate, whether it be a new marketing tool, whether it be, how can we make the appraisal process fun for clients too? Because at the end of the day, if your mindset is, hey, obviously we want to drive this brand, but how do we drive a brand? When clients can say that they have grown because of what you've done for them, that they've added quality people to their organization, that's a super win. And we were able to do that with clients. They would be able to recruit producers that were meaningful producers because they knew we were behind their valuation process. And that would tell you that you're doing something right. Times where we were failing, that we would potentially lose a client. Why? Is it because we didn't pay attention to the client that only gave us a few orders a month? And they were important, but what are some of our systems were not beneficial to them for whatever reason, and we might lose that business, and we would learn from it. And how do we keep 100 clients happy, if you will, versus just 5? Because at the end of the day, if you're tied down to 80% of your businesses with 3 or 4 clients, there's likely you've got a challenge. You've got a bigger challenge on your hand. And we had that for a while, and we were able to get through that. Yeah, we were able to get through that.
There was a period of time, trying to think which decade it was. It seemed like every 3 or 4 years, one of our top 3 clients literally went away for reasons we could not control. They were, boy, that's a kick in the shins, man. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
That just,
And you think about it in today's world, it's funny. I don't know if you probably did get this, but I got an invite on Instagram the other day, and I'm not buried in Instagram anymore as much as I used to be. But long story short, it was called something like Automax. This company is, I don't know if they're representing another company, but they're actively engaging appraisers through Instagram to sign up for their service to do hybrid appraisals.
I have not heard of this at all. What?
I think
You
it's
said
called
Automax. My mind went to CarMax, went to automobiles.
Yeah,
I did not go to the.
If you saw the
appraisal
name of this, and it takes you through the normal layers. Hey, are you a certified or licensed or certified general appraiser? Does all those questions. Are you interested in doing hybrid appraisals? Blah, 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 blah. So it's crazy to say where this industry is going to go and to think about growth in it now and what your mind, it's all over the place. It's got to be where back then it was much easier, that the path was still right in front of you. It wasn't like, oh, go this way or go this way. Now, any good business person will tell you that the CEO should be thinking about 5 years from now. That didn't work for me back then. I didn't have that intellect to do that. I just kept driving the road that was in front of me. I did start to see that in the last 5 years. Hey, we got to start thinking about this a little differently because it's going to change. And obviously that's where we are today. Yeah.
That's wild. Absolutely wild from that standpoint. You made reference to it earlier. I think people may have heard of it. So you had some period of time where you were growing, and then you had some period of time when you were no longer in the industry. How did that come about?
Let me think about that. I was no longer, I've always been connected to the industry. So are you saying after we got acquired?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay. So we got acquired in 2022. I stayed with the company that bought us. They treated us very well, treated everybody really well. Can't really ask for a better exit, except that the market kind of was on a little downhill trend at that point. So that was probably the worst part of the exit. But other than that, the hospitality and the care that the company acquired us, they did a phenomenal job, especially with the team members. So leading to that, I exited out after about a year. I had an earn out with the company, and right when that was done, the corporate space just wasn't for me.
Sure.
I just didn't fit into their box. It certainly wasn't anything on them. And I had plenty of opportunity to stay with them and to grow with them. And it just, my mindset wasn't there. So I got out, and I still do some private appraisals with, I actually have a trainee, and kind of went that route for a while and actually started doing some other things in life.
Love
Yeah.
that. Man,
Yeah.
that's exciting. So given all that you've seen and all you've heard and experienced, what are you looking forward to or optimistic about over the next 3 to 5 years?
Personally, I think I just want to keep living. I want to be, there's a couple of things that I'll just tell you that you'll hear commonly from people. Hey, I want to be a better citizen.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to put that as a top layer for me. And I think we can all look at that. And I just want to be a better citizen, to just be a better man for my family. I need lots of therapy for that, as many of my family members will say.
Yes, we all do.
And they're right. We all do. I think in this world, it's funny to me anyway. We talk about things like this, and I would not have it any other way. The great thing about marriage to me, like being married 29 years, number one, I'm super lucky that my wife has stood by my shortcomings for these 29 years, and she's just awesome. But marriage is unsolvable. It's great to be able to wake up in the morning and know that, hey, you can have a disagreement about something and you can challenge each other in these different ways, and how fruitful for that is for your life. And where I think the world is trying to get us to, they almost want us to be married to a robot and it just does what we say. It's just automated for us, that life is going to be automated. Just do this, just do all that. So that concerns me about the appraisal industry, like your left side, your right side of your brain. And what value does it have for you out there, right? What value? We really need to strengthen that value in this profession. We need to keep striving to strengthen the value in this profession. I think it's so important. Yes, we need to adapt all these technologies and AI. That's obviously common sense. But if we want to remain a profession, we have to realize together, we got to create that value and make it understanding in the marketplace of who we are. But outside of that, my health and my family and other investment opportunities that don't require me to be 80, 90 hours a week, I'm fully engaged in. I'm still heavy in real estate stuff. I've got transactions with a couple of other people that I'm constantly doing and looking at new opportunities. The world is full of opportunities. My son is starting a business right now.
Oh, that's
so we're
exciting.
doing that together. Yeah, it's really exciting. So that's just a massive blessing to be able to do that. And so he's cutting his teeth as an entrepreneur, and it's just funny to watch and listen to him and him have that same drive that it's very hard to coach that, by the way. It's very hard because you want to give all that you've learned and just put it right in him instantly. But that would be a failure to him, right? It'd be a failure because he needs to have some failures on his own to learn. Hopefully he's not writing big checks to learn that way, but whatever. My daughter's thriving, so I hope that she becomes an entrepreneur. I always tell people she's either going to be president or be careful. If you have to work for her, she's going to be ruthless, man. Ruthless. She's just very strong. So that's it. That's my life, man. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. We always appreciate the opportunity to just get a little inside perspective on things. And given that you've not only been down the path of an entrepreneurial business owner and someone who's exited, that's special seasons that we like to run. We look forward to having you involved in that. And you do investing. And that's just the one near and dear to my heart, which we continue to promote, that we think the real estate appraisers should be the wealthiest people in the profession, being able
100%.
to utilize what they've learned. I look forward to a future opportunity to have you involved in that special season. So, Robert, we just thank you so much for your generous sharing and reflection.
Appreciate you, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Friends, thanks for joining us for another informative, engaging, in this case, quite educational episode of Perusing's Appraisers on Purpose podcast. And we give it all to our guest, Robert Oglesby. Thank you again, buddy.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Perusing's Appraisers on Purpose. We hope you enjoyed learning from the amazing professional paths and achievements of our beloved guests. Before we go, please subscribe on your listening channel, Spotify, LinkedIn, YouTube, and other podcast channels to hear more from appraisers and valuers regarding their life and their work. After you drop a comment below, who is one friend and peer you can generously share this episode with? If you have any suggestions or questions for future episodes, we'd love to hear from you. Just send us a message on LinkedIn and we'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks again for listening, and until we're together again for the next session of Perusing's Appraisers on Purpose, create the change that you seek.